In this video, I'm going to show you how to do this sandy beige terrain very quickly and very simply with just 5 paints. Let's get started. Start off by priming your plastic pieces using a grey primer, and then our first base coat will be Citadel colour Zandri dust. So several thinned out coats. This could apply with a brush, an aerosol, airbrush, however you do it. For the purposes here, I'm just using a brush. So several thinned out coats, just coat the whole piece. As I said, put a thin coat on, let it dry, and then apply a second coat, and we'll come back to these when they are dry. Depending on how much you've thinned out your base coat, you may require several coats. I think this has had like 4 coats now. Remember that thinner coats are always better than thicker coats. So that's had about 4 coats of Zandri dust, and now we will move on to dry brushing. First dry brush colour we're going to be using is Ushanti Bone, and a soft dry brush, and just very gently and lightly. You can build this up with dry brushing. You can always go back and do another coat, but just very gently and all over the entire piece of terrain. Build it up with, start lightening up with Ushanti Bone. So very quick, and again very, very simple. So obviously this will leave all the Zandri dust in the recesses. So, as I said, very quick over the entire piece of terrain. Always go back. You can always go back and do more with dry brushing. As I said, it's always easier to add more, because once you over dry brush, you can't go back and take it away. You'd need to re-base coat it, and that's just a bit of a pain. So, just very gently all over the Ushanti Bone. As I said, just build it up. Take your time. As I said, if you think it needs some more, go back, add some more paint to the brush, and then come back in and do it a second coat. But first coat is Ushanti Bone. Second colour we will be dry brushing is Screaming Skull. Again, very simply, but you want to do this one slightly lighter than before. So as the colour gets lighter, so does your dry brushing. So be a little bit more gentle, a little bit lighter with this. And this will start making all of the edges really pop. And you've got one more dry brush to go, and then we'll move on to the weathering wash. So very quick, very simple. Dry brushing is probably one of the quickest ways to get terrain painted and still look really nice on the tabletop. This will work for all types of terrain. This happens to be from Star Wars Shatterpoint, but this coloration will work on any form of terrain, be it sci-fi, fantasy, or you could also military. This works for everything. This colour scheme is very quick, very simple, and can be used on all manner of terrain pieces. So there's your second dry brush, and then the third dry brush we will do now. Third and final dry brush is with Pallid Witch Flesh, which is basically just a very off-white. It's just a very pale colour. So take your time with this and be a lot more sparing with it. You want to hit the primary edges just to bring them up into a much lighter tone, but don't go too crazy with it, because this is a pale colour. So we're looking at hitting all of the main bigger edges, the outer edges, and any big sharp edges. As I said, take your time with this, because this is a very pale colour and potentially will end up totally changing the colour of the model. So Pallid Witch Flesh, light dry brush just on all the main corners, main edges, and then we'll move on to the weathering wash. For the weathering wash, we are just going to use a very thinned out Thondia Brown base colour from Games Workshop. So just really, really over dilute this to sort of water consistency. You're trying to make a wash or a sort of ink out of it, so to speak. So you want to just drop this into all of the recesses, and this will just add a nice sort of dirty down tone. Obviously you need to work out which is going to be the top and which is going to be the bottom. So on this case we'll do this will be the bottom, and that will run down there. And just be, as I said, if it starts getting a little bit messy, do not forget to take a bit of paper towel, and you can just wipe some of it off. It just sort of adds a nice tone to it. Very quick, and again very, very simple. I like this colour because of it just looks a bit more realistic, and it's not quite as dark as like Agrax Earthshade or something. Agrax can be very dark at times. For spills and sort of rust staining sections, just simply bring it along the edge and just drag it down in places. You could just sort of give the impression of some staining where some dirt has been, and just basically do whatever you want to do with it. It's, as I said, you can go put as much onto this or as little on as you want. It's very quick and very simple to do. There is no, if you want to go super mucky with them, really dirty them up, you can do. If you want to keep it a bit more, a little bit cleaner. So, as I said, thinned out Thondia brown. Just sort of put it in all the little recesses. As I said, you put as much or as little as you want. Leave that to dry, and basically that's exactly what we've done with this. So this is exactly the same, just on a smaller scale. So we've just used it as the Thondia brown as a wash, all the recesses, dragged it down in places. You can go back and do sort of, this has obviously had one coat, this has had two coats. Be as I said, be as creative, be as wild or as mild as you like. Very simple to do, and that's literally the whole process. I will be doing another one of these on the sort of more purpley grey terrain that I've done, but that's it. It's very, very simple. There will be a paint list as we go through, but it's base coat of Xandri Dust, dry brush of Shanty Bone, then dry brush Screaming Skull, dry brush Pallid Witch Flesh, and as I said, and then this wash is just a Thondia brown thinned out with a load of medium or water will work as well. And then, as I said, just drag it down, smudge it on, just add dirt. As I said, do as much or as little as you like. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.